Hey there.
Howdy.
Welcome. Oh, not
Oh,
you, me. I'm supposed to surprise everybody with revealing you, but now we're live, and
I
what
don't
am I
know what
supposed
I'm
to do? So
doing.
let's just pretend it didn't happen.
All
Just
right.
Shane, just shut your mouth for a
I'm
second.
so
Oh, I
bad
said
at
your name
this.
now. I spoiled it all.
I'm terrible at this.
Anyways, for you out there in the audience, sorry for that bumble, but whatever, anything goes here. I just thought I'd welcome you, say welcome to Reveel'd. Reveel'd is a show that is part of Reveal.net, which is an awesome platform to watch all the free independent shorts, features, documentaries, animations that you want. You sign up for it like any other streaming platform, but you don't have to pay a monthly subscription fee. They don't want your credit card information. You just sign up for an account and then enjoy all the content. So now we'll go, we'll pretend the debacle never happened. And with me today is Shane Nelson. There he is in the
Hello.
flesh, talking about his short film Surface today. So I'm just going to roll our little intro clip and then we'll have a little chat about it. But
Let's
good to
do it.
see you, my friend.
You too.
Shane, why don't you go ahead and tell the folks at home what Surface is about and where the idea came from?
All right. So Surface follows the story of Lou. He is a swimmer, an aspiring athlete. He's attempting to join his school swim team when he experiences somewhat of a supernatural out of body occurrence while practicing in his pool one day. And so the story kind of takes off from there and follows Lou as he tries to figure out what he just witnessed at the bottom of his pool.
Now, I know you primarily as an actor, mostly from a failed film of mine that we never got the chance to get off the ground because of touchy subject matter that I cast you in.
Yes, yes.
Back when you were a high school student, I was trying to cast authentic high school students. So you come from this acting background, but you're making the switch into writing and producing films. What attracts you to making that jump? And was there any difficulty, or had reading enough scripts and being in enough projects made it a little bit more of a natural jump?
Yeah, it's funny. So my mother is a professional journalist. She's been a writer for as long as I've been alive. And so it was almost like a natural thing for me to kind of veer off into that
Mm-hmm.
aspect of art. She was always, very peculiar about my grammar and writing and any little things that I did growing up. She would take me over to she used to work for Detroit Free Press and all the big
Mm-hmm.
newspapers over there. So she would take me over to the offices as a kid, and I would kind of like write my own things, and all the people in the offices would look at it, and like, so that's kind of where it started when I was like a young teen, going over to her place of employment and kind of just seeing what it was like to live a writer's life in a way. So I've always had that sort of impulse to create stories on the page. So when we met when I was in high school, by that point, yeah, I was reading a lot of plays. I was finding screenplays for things like Lost online, and I was just like learning what the structure of screenplays looked like as I was growing up. As I got into college, I studied acting. I got my Bachelor in Fine Arts from Wayne State in Detroit. I took a screenwriting course while I was in college, and that really taught me how to utilize the classic Hollywood 3 act structure, right?
Yep.
And so from there, it was just a matter of like finding my own style in those writing programs, finding my own voice. And this project itself, I made with a couple friends of mine. We started our production company, Three Good Friends,
Yep.
last year, and it's just sort of been a whirlwind since then. Any little idea we're trying to run with.
I have to ask if you're still good friends, because often the film industry, it either bonds people for life or it sends them screaming in opposite directions.
Right, right. Of course, of course. And going into this, it was just like we had no idea where this was going to take us. We're just jumping
Mm-hmm.
into it, and so we have no expectations, which I think helps keep things together. And of course, we all have like our own lives, things going
Yeah,
on outside of it too. So it's never a burden, right? It's more just like a fun wherever it takes us sort of
that's
experience.
awesome, and that's the way it should be. I mean, most of us get into film for the love of it. That the minute it starts to feel like a chore or just like a job, it becomes unenjoyable. Not that there aren't those days along the way on any project, but
Sure, sure,
overall, like it's that fun and excitement that always keeps me going, and
absolutely.
just the love of creating, and you hope to partner with people and find people that you can cast that all share that same sort of vision, because it's hard enough to make movies that any drama on or off screen is a pain in the rear.
Right.
So biggest challenge, you write the script. It's one of the first scripts that you're writing and getting to take to camera. What's the biggest challenge you realize after you write it and put your producer cap on? What was the most difficult thing with this production to
Well,
do?
it's funny when we first started, our initial rough draft of the script had a very different plot than what we ended up filming a couple days. So basically we had this initial idea where my character was going to make the swim team by doing something shady that got his friend in trouble.
Okay.
And it was kind of hard to translate onto screen, like as we were getting closer to the film day. And we also realized my ability at swimming isn't that great. Like I can't dive that well. My legs kind of scorpion. So it also just wasn't that realistic that I would even make the swim team. So we kind of realized last minute, like, we should switch this concept a bit where my character doesn't make the swim team. And then instead of it being a piece about him suffering with his guilt for what he did to his friend to outdo him, it became a piece about somebody working through their own inability and their goal, wanting something so bad and not being able to achieve it, and like not letting that get to you so much, being able to work through failure. That's really what the piece became about. And it took on a more psychological thriller aspect as opposed to this like social dilemma between two characters, right?
What I think is interesting is, and I'm glad that you made that decision, because a lot of, especially an actor writer, where they're too close to the material, can't see that, oh, maybe I'm not best suited for this, or I haven't had the
Right.
training, or I'm not going to portray, even as simple as playing a police officer and then not knowing the correct way to hold a gun or discharge a gun, or
Sure.
any of the, or reading the Miranda rights wrong, even though it's the most common thing ever to be said.
Right.
So
Right.
I think you're right. If you don't have the research and stuff, you don't want to take away from the believability of the movie just in concept alone.
Yeah,
I
you can
think that's
see my legs
a
in those
valuable lesson
dives.
to know. And the one that I've always hated growing up is any sitcom or like kids show, like Saved by the Bell is the best example, when they're like, oh, the Saved by the Bell kids are going to form a band, and it's like people are playing the drums, but it's not to the beat of the song, and
Yeah.
they're doing a drum fill when there is no drum fill, or just like
You'll lose the
screech on the
audience.
keyboards, and you're
Like,
like, you
they
couldn't
won't
have
believe you.
like given them, I don't know, 24 hours of like, okay, these are just the notes to play. You just fake playing piano for the thing. So yeah, believability is key, I think. So this is shot in our mutual hometown of Windsor, Ontario, Canada. I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and say you filmed it in the summer, since it's too cold to be around a pool.
We did summer of 2020. So this was actually
Oh,
filmed,
pandemic
yes.
baby.
Yeah, pandemic style. So, crew of like 4 people.
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually set the whole piece to a different song. This was a big lesson we learned through this process, is never set your shorts or anything to a song that you don't know you can't get the rights to.
Can I ask what that song
It
would have
was
been?
it was the Flower Duet by Leo Delibes. It's a pretty well-known classical
Mm-hmm.
piece. And we wrote the whole thing with the song in mind. The idea came one day. We were just in my pool in my backyard, and we were kind of had our eyes closed, and we were spinning around in circles, and we were like, I wonder how we could translate this feeling, because it creates a really
Yeah.
weird sensation in your body when you're doing it. I was like, I wonder how we can translate this to film somehow. How would we do that? And that was like the impetus for the whole thing. We came up with this weird story about a kid who sees something underwater, has a weird experience, and trying to make the team and all that. So we had this whole concept set to this song. We actually shot the whole thing and edited it to that song.
Almost like a music video. Yeah.
Yes, and it fit really beautifully. And then I was going through that process of trying to get the rights for the music, and it
Yeah.
was just too
And you went,
expensive.
how much? Yeah.
Yeah. So then months go by. I kind of like I let the piece sit, and I was like, I'm gonna find another song that will work. I just need to let it come to me. And lo and behold, I was playing through the Fallout video game franchise, and I found some really good classical music that was public domain through them. The song ended up being even better. So the song we use in the piece is called "The Sea and Sinbad's Ship." It's a
Mm-hmm.
piece by Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov. I think it was made for the Arabian Nights. musicals,
Mhm.
and so this piece actually works like this idea of the sea, water, and Sinbad's ship, and they're clashing. It's this like idea of like a water entity and a real life entity clashing. Well, this paralleled our story of Surface that we
Yeah.
ended up doing itself, so it just seemed to work out even
I
more
think
perfectly.
I think that's the trick in independent film is your limitations. You have to find a way to make the film better. Oh, we don't have the right lighting. Oh, somebody forgot a piece of gear. We couldn't afford this. How do we do that camera shot without the lens, the specialty lens that we want? An actor is stuck in traffic and can't be here for 3 hours, and we're not a
Right.
studio, so we can't afford a delay. How do we, we're running out of time, today. What do we cut? If you can, I think the greatest skill a young director or producer can learn is how to adapt without sacrificing the quality of the film and use those limitations to your advantages. And it's been seen from the original Star Wars on, it's been seen over and over how people have beat the odds and just done something more inventive or more exciting with less on screen. Oh, we can't afford the fight choreography. Well, what if we cut to I did this once, cut to static on a TV that was established in this room, and we just hear this brutal fight, and then we cut back to everybody exhausted and bloody,
Brilliant.
afterwards. But it adds to the tension sometimes when you don't know what's happening off screen. So
Leave it
yeah,
to the
there's a million ways
imagination.
around that. But the music, they call it like tempitis, essentially falling in love with temp music, and it can happen. Like imagine on an indie film, like even my composer Adrian Ellis, I try to not use temp music anymore because I don't want him to be influenced by it, but I also, if I cut something to John Williams or Hans Zimmer,
Sure.
not that Adrian doesn't have the talent to match these two composers. They just happen to be two of the greatest minds in the industry, and they have all the money in the world on those things to have full orchestras and full choirs and everything else. Where I'm like, Adrian, I got enough money for you to bow a violin once and
Yeah.
smash your elbows on a keyboard
It's a
three
lot to
times.
compete with.
Yeah, so it's you have to, it is a very difficult thing for actors, especially if you've cut to a rhythm. And I'm a music video editor by trade too, so cutting the
Yes,
rhythm is
the
super important.
rhythm was everything. And can I
Yeah.
tell you the magic that happened when we found that Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov
Hmm.
piece, and we just put it from the beginning over top of what we had already edited. We already had the 10-minute piece, and we just let that thing play for a good like 7 minutes. And the way it like magically matched up with what we had already edited to the old piece, we were like, yes, this is it. Me and my cinematographer, who also
Yeah.
did the editing, Walter Riggy, we were just sitting there watching it in awe that it matched up so well.
It's pretty amazing because you think, oh, this could be the only song for it, but the
Right.
truth is, I've seen people do this with a. There's a music video I did for an artist, Todrick Hall, a famous YouTuber and
Yeah, I've heard
dancer,
of him.
and the video, fans have taken that video and set it to like 9 other songs that I've seen on YouTube. I'm like,
Cool.
it matches all 9 of these. Like you think you've done something so unique. And I remember even back in high school, we didn't know anything about music rights then, and we weren't making money off of these films, but we would set up okay, let's put this Metallica song in the background. Now let's try this Aerosmith song. Let's try this
Mhm.
Creed song, like whatever it was. It all it all would match, and then it just became a preference of what was there. And I found that in my own films, because again, tempitis. Oh, let's put this Coldplay song down. Oh, we can't afford that. Let's find
Right.
some indie artists. It's never going to be as good. And then something hits where like just a lyric just times perfectly with a camera with a camera move or a character's emotion.
Yes. And it
Yeah,
all
so music
clicks.
music is a huge thing. So you put this film out into the world, and what's the reaction been? Does this feel triumphant that you're on the right path and gonna just
Yes.
keep writing things for yourself to act in?
That's the way to say it. It feels like we're on the right path. I mean, for this to be our first endeavor, our first fully put together short film, and the reception we've got from Reveel'd, just festivals. There's been a couple festivals that
Hmm.
have gotten back to, yeah, that feeling. And I know you know it well of just like, oh, people are responding to this work. And that's just motivation alone to keep going to the next thing.
Well, that's the whole thing. We make movies to entertain people. I doubt that any of us get into this strictly for money, because that's
Mm.
that's sort of a laughable thing sometimes in
Yeah,
independent film. You're generally always going to spend more of your time and your energy and your own funds to get something made than you will see come back. Especially the short film. I don't know if the average audience member out there realizes short films are sort of just made as what's known as a calling card. You're making it to showcase what you can do in
absolutely.
hopes of attracting somebody to finance feature films or TV series, or even just as an actor to showcase, you're investing money in yourself so
Yeah,
that you can show what you're capable of doing. So it's easier for a casting director to see the value in hiring you for a role versus somebody else.
that's it.
So
You nailed it.
you've got underwater photography, all these
Mhm.
things you're not supposed to do on your first indie short.
Oh, is
Is
that a rule? I didn't know.
well, there are no rules,
True,
but
true.
the general thing is like, I mean, I don't know if you ever heard about movies like Jaws and Waterworld. Famously, don't do anything that involves water or underwater
Sure.
because it will delay your schedule.
Let's
It
break the
just takes more
rules.
time, but it's bold, and you get the film that you have. So, safe to say that you're probably going to be working on something else very soon, and maybe we'll get to see it on Reveal one day.
I'm really hoping so, y'all. This is a beautiful platform, and I'm very, very grateful that y'all gave us the opportunity to showcase our work here.
What's the best lesson you learned in that screenwriting class that you still remember today? The one piece of advice or thing that just stands out?
Oh my goodness, make use of every last detail. We had to make so many cue cards. He had us do the whole cue card method of like, you got your items, you got your people, you got your settings, make them all random and then put them together and see what comes up with it. And so that's just it. Utilize every last detail. Anything can possibly work. Just take the time to make it work, really.
That's like that Family Guy joke or South Park joke when they talk about how Family Guy is written. It's just a tank of manatees that have the idea balls in it, and they just
Just
pour out.
throw
And it's like Gary Coleman picnic south of France. Okay, that
and
one
look,
time.
it
Yeah,
can work.
it can work. If
Work.
they can do that, we can do
Mhm,
anything. Well, Shane,
mhm.
thank you for joining us today. Everybody out there, check out Surface. It's 10 minutes. How do you not have 10 minutes of your time? And you know what? It'll only take you another 30 seconds on top of that to sign up for an account at Reveal. Reveal.net if you're watching us on Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter, wherever else you're finding this interview series for Revealed, go over to reveal.net, create an account. Don't need a credit card. Never want your money. Just it's completely free and you get to watch all this great stuff. And I keep saying now, if you're an independent filmmaker or an actor, it's a wonderful place to find collaborators and check out other people's
Yes.
work that you might want to work with in the future. And I'm telling you, the world gets smaller and smaller. I just met a Revealed guest, last week's guest. I met him in person out at a festival, and he
Come on.
recognized me from Reveal. So
Cool.
good things happen when people are willing to watch each other's independent work
That's it.
and find collaborators. But Shane, thank you again. I love the film. I love the topics that you're tackling, and I
Thank
hope
you.
everyone else out there will enjoy it as much as I did.
Always great to see you, Gavin. Thank you so much, man.